life game.
Warfare that happens with paperwork and lawyers. And that's the ugliest kind of warfare there is. My friends, we are in the Solvent Direct studio at the Good Life Gang house. It is Las Vegas 2023. Catherine Sidman, and I am about to turn it over to people who are wicked smart. And I'm going to start right here with my friend Sean. Sean, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, and then you and I, like you're explaining it to either a 5-year-old or to me. We're going to talk about what this is, and then we're going to bring Dustin and Don into the conversation, okay?
That's great.
Introduce yourself.
So I'm Sean Winfield. I'm one of the partners at Extraction Tech Stainless. I've been in the industry since 2014. Basically, I manage the revenue side of the equation for the company.
Yeah.
Very proud business owner, very proud of the cannabis industry, and definitely looking to help protect it going forward.
Well, and your ETS, your good work in the space, keeping people safe since way back with solid closed loop technology. We appreciate you. Instead of innovating with your customers and working on new markets and all the other fun stuff I hit you up to do, you have been knee deep in some patent minutia bullshit. And I want you to take us back to when it started, like we don't know anything about it. Bring us forward hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees forward, and tell us where we are now. And then we're going to break Dustin and Don into it.
So ironically, this all started with our patents getting rewarded.
Okay.
Getting awarded to ETS.
Okay.
So, this was 2015, small company, cannabis is up and running, everything's going well, right? We got awarded design patents on our current makes, which back then was the 1300 and the MEP only, right? We use that as an excuse as a small business to find general counsel. We said, hey, we got something. We got a legal piece of paperwork. Let's find some lawyers. Let's actually, get ourselves nice and protected and figure this out longer term. And so that's where we met our current legal team. They work for Block 45 out of Denver. Very good attorneys, very good guys, right? Fast forward to about 2.5 years ago, we got a letter from a client, can't name them, but a group out in California. They were getting sued for patent infringement on the operation of one of our machines. Okay.
So to be very clear, they're extracting cannabis in a closed loop butane extractor.
Yep.
And they received a cease and desist, or they're getting sued for using your extractor the way we all know how everybody uses it, because this company says they've patented that.
Yeah, and it was an extractor that we held a patent on, the design. So honestly, Matthew and I were confused when we first got that news. We said it's like somebody inventing a toothbrush and then suing somebody else for brushing your teeth with it, right? So we called the attorneys right away and said, what do we do? Like, what's the course of action? And they said, well, you got all kinds of options, right? You're not getting sued, was the first thing they told us. We read the paper.
Sounds like a lawyer.
And you guys aren't getting sued. So your first option is do nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Second option is let's go down and let's meet with your clients and let's really dig into this legal case. And that was the option we chose to take right away. So we jumped on a plane, we sat down in a fancy corporate office, and we started talking about and reading some of the legal paperwork. And it became very clear that this was an attack that was going to be much broader than just a single account. Than just a couple people extracting with the machine, that this was something that was organized at a level that I don't think any of us were prepared for, right? We were hearing about this patent firm out of Colorado, our home state, and that they had a very specific process to what they were doing here, and this was the start of that process. And so Matthew and Jennifer and myself, we sat down, those are the partners at ETS, and we said, okay, let's defend this. Let's defend this. Let's go after these guys. Let's help our client out, which was the main motivation. But let's also hopefully help ourselves in the industry out by going through the specific legal functions that we needed to do to get some defense here. And we learned a lot about patents over those first 3 months. We learned about how the information had been gathered. We read the patents themselves. We learned quite a bit on the claim process, just how everything worked, the mechanics behind the legal side of it. But there wasn't a direct, clean path to help in that defense. So what we did was we chose to joint defense it initially. We sat back down with the client and said, hey, let us work with you. And let's put a nice stand together, and let's really draw some lines here. And if it goes to the courts, it goes to the courts. That's the risk you take, right? And the whole purpose of that decision was we were concerned about this group, right? And I'm not going to name them, but we were concerned about this group that had they gotten early settlements in this space at this point in time, right? And this is before cannabis hit that flattening too, right? There was still some money growing and everybody was still all smiles around, but we didn't want to war chest them. We didn't want to give patent attorneys a big chest of funds to start going after other people. So in this example, what we chose to do is what's known as an IPR. It's an in partes review. It's basically a process where you call out the USPTO and you say,
that's the patent office.
The patent office. You say, this patent should have never been issued, right?
Contest it in a way.
Yeah. It's a way to pull the patent back. So once a patent's awarded, things get very structured. Okay, now that patent could be total bullshit, but once it's awarded, it gets structured. There's a way that you go about your defense, right? And one of those ways is to go to court and say, no, I'm not infringing on anything, and here's the reasons why. There's a lot of things you can do there. You can change 10%, you can change the SOP. There's some ways to work around, but there's so many claims in some of these patents that you've got to really address them all. You can't just address a couple of them in that pattern, right? So the other option is what was known as the IPR. And the IPR is a very structured review of the patent. And, it's expert witnesses. It's going through each specific claim and saying, this is just nonsense. This has been around since the 1960s or the 1800s, and you literally attack every claim on that. And if you get enough of them, you can pull the patent in its entirety. It's not easy to do, but you can do it, right? So we chose to do that. And we said, we're gonna draw a line here. Right, we're gonna try to buy some time, and we wanted to do it for everybody, but there's self-motivation here too. We're a growing company. We're still a pretty small shop back then. We're looking to get full growth going again, and we want to make sure that we've got the environment and the landscape to be able to do that in. And so we started this process, and we go through the expert witnesses, and we go through all the interviews, and legal once a week, getting on with the lawyers, talking about the updates and what's next, and went to court. Went in front of the USPTO. Fortunately, it was in Denver because this attorney group happens to be in Colorado too, so that was a little bit easier for us. We went through the whole IPR process, and in this first round, it was 3 specific patents. I'll send you the patent numbers. Anybody's welcome to read them. They're obviously public knowledge, but one of them was an early patent in the space. We had spoken to the patent owner about 3 or 4 years earlier. He asked us to license off that patent. We said, we don't need to. You don't really have enough here. That was the first patent we went after. The other one was patents that had already been tested legally as well with another manufacturer in the space. We had no choice but to really go after IPRing all 3 of them at the same time. So we went through the process. Very expensive process, very long process. I'd say we're somewhere in it before the decision, somewhere in the tune of $600K in legal fees before we finally got the decisions from the USPTO. And in this example, we won effectively. It's tough to really, it's not a check mark. It's not like win, loss, right? You have all these claims, and it comes down to what claims are you pulling away? And if you pull away enough of them, you basically take the teeth out of the patent. I can tell you on the first patent we went against, absolutely took the teeth out of it. No question about it. There really isn't much value left. The second patents, we got about half of the claims eliminated. Right. And that it's enough for the time being, but it's still there's the ability to reorganize.
In broad strokes, what are these patents about? Very broad.
Honestly, it's the operation of extraction with hydrocarbons.
Okay.
In this example.
Okay.
I've got another example which crosses over to a different solvent methodology, which is called ethanol processing as well. And that's the one that we're currently involved. And that one's tricky. That one's very tricky. But in doing our research and going through this process, you do what every business owner does. You try to read as much as you can. You try to educate yourself quickly, right? So we're looking at this, and we're looking at other patents in the space at that point, and we're trying to come up with some kind of strategy as a small business where we can protect ourselves and protect our team, and still represent a good solid future for everybody. And then in the interim, cannabis flattens out, and that was kind of a scary eye-opening moment. Because now the concept of a royalty when you're growing, it's stomachable. You can digest that. You can say, all right,
if the money's flowing,
we can work it in.
yeah.
we can work it in. I can raise my price a little bit. I can cover.
Now, when we talk about royalty, I want to take it back.
Sure.
This is how this goes down. So this is where we are, and then I'm going to open the conversation, and it's a free for all. This is this company that's doing this, and we're not saying their name because.
No, which we're not talking about the company that's pursuing, or we're not.
No, so the legal firm is Gene Pool Technologies.
Yeah, okay.
Gene Pool
Thanks.
Technologies.
That's, we're through the court case.
Gene Pool Technologies is not a company that has invented anything, designed anything, figured anything out.
I can't answer. I don't know.
I don't know, but they are a company that holds patents.
There's potentially a guy involved that does have some inside, and the from what I hear, it's the primary guy, and he has built this, and how he got approached to jump into this giant patent troll system, unknown. But there's one guy that does have some precedent and some patents that are getting worked on, and they jumped onto that and said, hey, you're going to be the guy. And this guy, acquires more of them. They start buying up.
But they're buying patents. They're buying things other people make.
And they're currently patenting. They're currently going through
they're
the
going
process
forward with it. And then what they've done is now there's a pitch deck out on the market where they're out actively looking for investors to buy into this system.
If you email me and ask, I'll send you that pitch deck.
Because the plan is they're going to attack all of the hydrocarbon equipment manufacturers. They're also attacking, at some point, the goal is on their little pie chart of investment, all the people who have used all of these hydrocarbon extractors. They're not just going to tell you to stop. They're going to say you owe us a back tax for all the time you've been violating our patent, and up until a point, and moving forward, you might have to pay a royalty as well. This is all in their pitch deck. This is the plan.
And their pitch deck is to investors who want to fund their war chest, to pay lawyers, to persecute these people, to persecute my gang.
It's also
that's what they're doing.
They're also pitching to join their club in a sense. Right. Because there is another option.
There's a way out.
You can either go to court with them and they can go back for whatever you owe them, for whatever they claim or whatever. Or there's an option to join their club. And that's this option of giving a certain percentage of your yearly makings until you've reached a certain level. So if you're under 20 million a year, they want $1 million from you eventually. If you're over 20 million a year, they want $2 million. And don't quote me, look at the deck.
And can you just buy out immediately? I got $1 million cash.
And I don't know. And I don't know the options there, but basically it's buy into our club and you're part of us now. And for that,
what is the other model where
new
a bully comes to your business and threatens to destroy you, but if you pay them money, they let you keep? Oh, it's a protection racket.
Well, that sounds like the mafia
in Jersey. I mean, I know a little bit about that, to be fair. So
sounds like the IRS.
But they're coming after everyone, and here is where it's a little bit of a domino situation.
Not yet,
right?
Not yet,
okay.
Not yet. So there's a structure to all this. So one thing we all have to realize in cannabis, this is a novel industry, more or less, right? Now, we may have decades of experience. I know a lot of us were growers, a lot of us were producers well before there was any legal market. But from the state recognizing us, we're a novel market right now. We're dealing with the same patent bullshit that I'm sure the alcohol industry dealt with, the tobacco industry, the software industry dealt with. But we're in that time frame, right? Patents only last so long, right? I think it's 35 years, 32 years. 17?
Yeah,
I believe it's 17.
It used to be longer, now it's less.
There's a period of time that you can monetize that. Is basically what it comes down to. And I think we're dealing with real industry situations here because we got a target on us. That's the bottom line because they can monetize them, right? So we're a nice, healthy target for them. It's a wide community. Most people on the outside of cannabis looking in think we're all flush with cash and all our companies are just printing, right? So I understand how this happens, but there is structure to it. So the way these things go down is they got to find settlements early on. Doesn't matter if it's a manufacturer, doesn't matter if it's a producer, really doesn't matter which side of the equation you're on. They just have to get settlements. So they
send threatening letters, and that settlement is a point in their favor because then when they go before a judge or they go before a review board, they say all of these people acknowledged our patent and agreed. So this is the domino aspect. Yes. And this is why ETS is spending so much money defending other people.
That's why we did.
Right.
The question is, can we continue?
Not an open invite.
Well, in a sense, they spent money just to challenge it, just to give it a shot. And it's interesting if you really listen to what he said. They in a sense lost by split decision. So certain things they found, yes, this is true. They can't necessarily hold you on this, but other things they found, this is a patent that is enforceable. Yeah. This is a patent that's legit. And that's in a sense the scary part, because how much power does that have? And if you're talking end user, the guy that sells the dabs, and the other thing to add to this, and not to bounce around, it's not just hydrocarbon. It's not just hydrocarbon extraction. It's alcohol extraction, CO2 extraction. It's vape technology. It's edible technology, whatever the fuck that means.
It's cultivating. It's everything. It's open. It's
mobile
it's
extraction.
because of what Sean said. It's this novel industry, and that means it's ripe across. And all they're looking to do is prove, because the whole pitch deck is about like, look what we can do, and then this thing will just exponentially grow, and people will buy in. It's they've got this like pyramid scheme set up. Buy in now and get rich with us as we destroy the industry and conglomerate.
Dustin, I'll be honest with you. When we first started pushing back against them, they tried to change the narrative and said, "Hey, let's talk about your patents."
Yeah, I bet.
Like, are you
They wanted to buy your patent.
Well, no, they didn't say buy. We're talking about licensing. Well,
Yeah,
we can make this a lot easier for you.
Can't have any hard words here in the middle. You've got money, we want it.
So that's supposedly a rumor too, is that they've approached some patent owners for kind of a patent trade-off. Like, hey, join our club, give us your patents, you'll be protected from us fucking cutting everybody's head off or trying to. So yeah.
Yeah. It's not a rumor. I can tell you it happened. I can confirm that was a conversation.
And see, so I want to just kind of where we're at. This has been on the forum for a while and kind of flew under my radar. What really brought it up is Sean said, "Hey, I spent $500,000 defending this. Are you like, please take a look at this?" And that was, to me, I mean, okay, I respect this guy and his business. Why did he spend so much money on this? And that right there is like you took the first big step to get all the serious players that could potentially be impacted at least willing to look at it now, because like, well, yeah, why did they spend so much money defending other people? It must be serious.
And it's not just the precedent that's set with one legal team. Okay, that's important to them. Don't get me wrong, but it also opens the door to more activity, right? So what we're seeing right now is a slight change here. So, and this is where it gets a little tricky for me to talk about, because we are still in legal action on this one. The hydrocarbon cases are done. So as precedent is set, as settlements are starting to happen, right? Now we also have a flattening of revenues across the industry. Well, if you're a manufacturer of equipment, and let's say you went out of business 3 or 4 years ago, for whatever reason, but you were awarded patents, the same style of patents we were awarded, right? Now all of a sudden you don't have your fabrication, your welders are gone, your machines are not going out the door anymore, but you got this piece of paper on the wall, and you got people talking to you and whispering into your ear and saying, "Hey, you might be able to make some money off that piece of paper." We're starting to see that right now. Okay, that's concerning. So alcohol, ethanol, there's patents out right now for cold ethanol processing. And that's the definition essentially, negative 40 and colder. That's scary.
Yeah.
There's a lot of centrifuges, a lot of ethanol out in the space right now. And now we're getting pushes from people that were competitors in some ways when they were manufacturers, of course, but they were also part of it all. We're all part of this organism we've created together. We all have to hold each other accountable. I think we did a pretty good job of it at the offset. Of course, there's always bullshit, but I care about you, Kat. You know that. Now we're starting to see that shift. And we're starting to see that shift back to more players coming into the space, finding more legal actions. And the patent system in this country is broken too. Yeah. You can file anything and continue and change that patent and stroke that patent as innovation happens around you. You don't even have to be the producer of that innovation.
Your eyes open.
You gotta have the paperwork. I'm filing this now. I'm changing this now. And then all of a sudden you get to the point where you've got a solid wall, right? And it's that solid wall that scares me, because 3-4 years ago, this industry could have jumped right over it without even thinking about it. Today, I'm not sure we can adjust to an erosion of margin another 7.5% to 15%, which is what they're asking.
7.5% to 15% royalties on every dollar you make.
When I dove into this, the crazy thing is I guess I didn't understand patents, and I think the common person doesn't. And you think of a patent, there's a drawing usually of some sort, and you think, okay, if I'm not doing the exact fucking thing that's in this drawing, then I'm good. My system looks different than that. There's so much conceptual stuff in there, and there's so much, like he just said, the temperature, I read something about, uses a solvent that has a different boiling point than what they're fucking extracting. And you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's everything. So there's these almost like God laws or clause in there that say, well, what the fuck, no matter what I invent or improve on or anything, it just falls under this blanket of we own everything. And like he said, I think the patent system, I think that's what's broken here is being able to patent something or going after stuff as like a loophole of, oh, nobody else has done it. And you know what I mean? When it's actively being used or done or applied for.
I think a lot of people in our space, a lot of people on the forum, you and I have been trying to rev people up on the forum getting interested in this, and they're like, remember back in the day when so-and-so said that they were the first closed loop extractor, but the skunk farmers did it, and people think it's that argument. This is no longer an argument between us in the cannabis industry about who did it first. This is a group on the outside coming in to crush.
Yeah.
To
crush.
Like, tough to stomach, right?
Yes, these little weaklings, and it's like, we're eating today, boys. Come join us.
And so what do we do to get together to fight? I mean, what do we do?
We organize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Collectivize, fight back, talk about it.
That's what we do. Yeah. We start the conversations.
Yeah.
We educate each other, right? So when I talk about Matt and I stumbling through patents at the offset, I got a lot of respect for Matt on his patent knowledge now, because he's the technical guy that'll go and read through the minutia in each claim and say, okay, I think we got a workaround, or this is just nonsense. I don't have those skills. I can't read that document the same exact way. So for me, I'm a communicator. I'm an educator in a lot of ways. And we've got to get serious about this as a community, and we've got to say, we're not giving it away. We're not doing that. We're going to fight back. The PWO, I love that, because that's the kind of organization it'll take. So other industries have these examples. There's groups out there. You pick an industry, and there's some group out there that organizes on an IP level, right? And patents are not evil. Right? They're not evil. In the general term of it, the way we think about patents, protecting an innovation is okay.
It's like a gun. It's just how do you use the patent? Did you make a patent so you could defend it from this happening, which is the mistake we made?
I'll tell you a quick story. When we were awarded our patents, and these were just design patents on 1300s and MEPs. And before I got in on the team, Matt had worked with a group out of New Orleans, guys right off Canal Street, and they were our patent attorneys that got the patent awarded, right? This guy comes into our office, and I'm not kidding. He's in a full white suit, looks like Foghorn Leghorn. He sits back, and he's kicking back. He said, boys, all your troubles are over. You're just going to have to hire yourself a woman, and she's going to sell licenses for this patent to everybody. You guys aren't going to have to make another piece of steel in your life. And we're looking at him like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Like, that was never an intention at all. We thought, hey, we're a small manufacturer. We're supposed to patent our stuff. That's protection, right? That gives us some defense here. Those patents themselves are probably the most expensive pieces of artwork on our walls in ETS, to be fair. We've never tried to monetize it. We've always said, hey, we got that backing. And it wasn't until this first case that we were like, wait a second. No, look, we got the patent.
Well, and that shows you that that's old game. Like, this isn't a new thing. Like, this has happened. This is a known thing that's happened in multiple different industries. And it's sadly, a type of business. I mean, these firms are structured over, hey, give me money, back me, because I have this plan to do this.
Yeah, look at this idea. It's going to make us rich. Just join in. The more people that buy in, the more we all make.
And as long as there's been patents,
right? Because the court system's broken too. Because you can fight, they'll fight you to the death. They can be wrong, and you could lose just because you can't afford to keep fighting. Because you run out of money. Because their law firms keep this spinning in the legal system forever.
Yep,
forever.
Well, and know this too, this said company, and there's others like it too. That's another thing that's really scary. And people have been talking about them for a long time. Nobody's really been listening though. I want to say, Doc sent me some stuff from Grey Wolf that he was typing off about Eudoxy or something. But similar mentality. It's patent vultures that are going after, people that just basically either didn't do the due diligence to get a patent, or just didn't know that they even needed one to, like in my case, to make products, or to, to use a system I bought from a reputable company. I've had an ETS system. I've had multiple different systems, and to think that, I would need to protect myself from just simply buying a system and using that in my, much more elaborate SOPs, and we do all kinds of shit other than just use this steel system.
Imagine if somebody showed up and just said, utilizing an internal combustion engine with 2 pedals, 1 for brake, 1 for gas, and a steering wheel. That's been patented. And so everyone who does that has to pay us $100 a year.
It has.
Yeah,
right.
But now I have to, as a driver, I'm supposed to pay.
Yeah, someone comes and says, I found
patented?
this thing that all of a sudden was earlier a patent that came from before or was different. And because of that, now everybody that's ever made money driving a truck has to pay me a royalty because you were in violation. That's what's saying. If you run a coffee business and the coffee machine has some patented thing that the guy you bought the coffee machine, it was in violation. And they come knock on the door and say, you owe us 15 cents for every coffee cup that you sold because of that violation of the manufacturer of the equipment that you used. And they have this worded out, modeled out. Okay, this is the response that they have, the argument. We explain to them, how did you worded this with me, Donnie?
The get lost attitude. Like
Yes.
if you, so this company, the kind of scary, unfortunate thing about this deck and this piece of this document that this company has proudly put out. They want everybody to see it. Like there's
And I'll
no
send it to you. I'll help them out.
It's their fucking sales deck. It's like, hey, this is how we're gonna make money. It lists all the different attitudes you can have towards them.
And how we will respond.
If we come to you, this is what's gonna happen. And it lays it out that, if you have the get lost attitude, like the cannabis industry is known for, having, then this is how it's gonna go down.
It's going to hurt you more.
If you think that cannabis, equipment is unpatentable, this is how it's going to go down. And they basically break it down for all these, like, what most people's argument are when somebody comes and says, hey, you made money off this, you owe me. And you start really thinking, well, wait a minute, there's only one person that does that, and that's the government.
And they word it, and they're like, look, maybe you're right. That's an argument you need to take up with the guy you bought the equipment from. Yeah. So you need to go now sue him in civil court because you owe us this money. And once you do, and I guarantee you if you do that, we'll help you with that plan on how you're going to sue this guy. We've got the resources to help you. Come join us in that sense, at least.
And the reality is they do. They have the resources.
They do have the resources.
They're organized.
They're collectivized already. So now,
funded.
right now, you're an individual against a giant. You're like the weak little fawn against the predator. And the only way to get the defense is to get back with the herd. And as a herd, we can defend against,
Or we pull out the slingshot.
Well, and that's the scary part too, is it could, the fact of the matter is, yes, like as an end user, you could say, oh, it's the equipment manufacturer's liability. But at the end of the day, if the company's currently suing you, you're going to have to deal with that and then try to go after the equipment manufacturer, who at that time could have already been gone after by this fucking company as well. And there might not be anything to go after there.
And by the way, that was your equipment that you're using that you now no longer can use because it's in violation. So now you have to go get different equipment that wasn't in violation. And the only people that are going to probably have that is this giant group because they own all the patents.
And you got to remember, they're process patents. They're not design patents. Again, so that defense that we're talking about, that's not real.
Yeah. So in their mind, the only way to process cannabis under one of their process patents is with them. If you're against them, you're against them, period. You can't, don't use that equipment and keep processing, right? Who cares? Like, you're still fucked. You're screwed. Unless you join us, you're screwed. That's their model.
It just, like Kat said, I don't understand how this can't fall under like a racketeering type.
Why isn't lobbying
operation.
bribery? Because it's legal. It's all in the legalese.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with the USPTO and
government.
My dad's an engineer by trade. He was one of the first guys to really get this through to me. He said when he started his engineering career back in the late 60s, he would have died to have a job at the USPTO. That was like, you made it as an electrical or mechanical engineer. You got to look at designs and innovation all day. That was a great job. He said now it's entry level. Now it's a job out of school. So you got a lot of people that are processing this information that don't necessarily, they may have the book smarts. I'm not saying that. They have the education, but they don't necessarily have the application to it. They haven't been out in the world processing or working in the fields that they're judging right now. And so that's where we're seeing these weak patents come out, I believe.
Compound that with the general situation of our government and its funding and the apathy of the people working there, the type of people that choose to go work at the government, and the sheer volume of patents that are coming in. Compound all those things together, and of course it's broken. Like every other 3-letter agency, it's all broken.
You're right.
Or 4-letter, that's a 4-letter one. Ooh.
Well, and what you showed us, or what your company showed us by fighting it and challenging it, is there is weakness in the patents. There is, and like I say, you lost by a split decision in a sense. I mean, obviously, 600,000 is a fucking loss, no matter how you look at it. But there was wins on that side where you showed that there's chinks in the armor, that like you said, there's patents getting through that shouldn't get through. There's shit being patented that's fucking, obnoxious. And
even the delay, even the time the court cases take is a win in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Is there there's got to be like a billionaire coalition working against this, right?
Because so the group we're talking about right now, we're VC funded, right? There's no mystery to it. You can look it up. You can find out where the funding came from. It was the same funding that funded a lot of the early cannabis in Colorado too. Right. So we can talk about the relationships there.
Yeah, and start digging into the connections, the top end connections on gene pool. It's deep and nasty.
It's very tough.
It ties right back to a bunch of the characters you already hate in the industry.
There's a little bit of Silicon Valley sprinkled in if you really dig deep. I mean, it's well organized, well funded groups that understand what they're doing. These things come in waves. Okay. So we saw the early waves, right? We're not talking about tidal waves. We're not talking about tsunamis yet, but they come in waves. So the next round, still in the manufacturing community, mainly, was weird. The second round, this is all cold ethanol processing I'm talking about now, 4 companies listed, 4 manufacturers listed. One of them was just a reseller. These are all names you guys would recognize. Yeah. I can't say them, but they're all names you'll recognize. One was a reseller. That's it. They didn't design or do anything. They were a distributor. One was absolutely a high-end quality company that we all know very well.
It's going to be fun. I'm going to write down who I think they are, and we're going to check later.
And then there was a random formulator. Just a random formulator. And it's almost like they're just testing that water right there. Yeah. Let me see what I can get. CBD company. It wasn't a THC company, but it was an ethanol run, and they just had one formulator in there. And you look at that list and you say, okay, I understand this one. I get this one. This one has sold some equipment. There's some money to be made there. But then you see this one formulator down there and you're like, what are you doing here? All right. And it's all about precedent. And as soon as this wave passes, which it's about 60% through now, we got a couple settlements in this round, which is tough, but it is what it is. I mean, you got to deal with it now. We got one case, I believe, dismissed. There was a couple fuck yous that flew back and forth, which is good too. Next wave is coming. It's going to be more than 4 or 5 manufacturers on one formulator. So now we're sitting there and we're watching, we're monitoring and seeing who's next. I got one legal website I check every morning. Right. I know the names, put them all in there, and it shows me if anything was filed the day before. That's it. And we got to wait, see what's next.
For right now, the thread on the forum is a good place for information. I even linked.
Should be even better document. After this.
But the thread on the forum.
Hopefully somebody has something to say.
Do you know the title of it off the top of your head? We're going to put it. We're going to put the URL.
Hydrocarbon has a problem. Hydrocarbon has a patent problem.
Hydrocarbon has a patent problem. If you look up patent problem, you're going to find it. We're going to pin it to the top. I can get that done today. And then between now and the 1st of 2024, we're going to have a website. We're going to have something where people can log in, can get more information. We're going to get organized.
We talked to a decent amount of the names that were here today and last night that would be good voices for it, and they're 100% on board.
Yeah.
So yeah, like full, to the point of potentially like a little documentary, something visual so that this thing could potentially go viral out to other people that we wouldn't normally impact, so that it then could circle around to other people that it.
Well, I think the public understanding, or even the industry understanding, that this is not just hydrocarbon equipment. This company is a massive company that's going after, like I said earlier, ethanol equipment or process and equipment.
Sure. Well, there's an underlying flaw in our free market capitalism right here, where these predatory corporations can come in and stifle growth and creativity because they can just beat you in court over some bullshit. That's a huge issue. That's a much broader. That's what I meant. Like, there's got to be some billionaire coalition, because there's lots of guys that would love for this to not be the case, so that they can more freely, do whatever. And this could be a serious issue if you own a bunch of companies, if you're big money. So it seems like there would be, because the way to fight it in bigger sense would be to have this collective of lawyers that are going, and all they do is crack all these patents, and they're just actively scouting. Hey, are you in some industry where there's bullshit patents? Tell us why. Explain to us in detail. Great, we'll help you beat
that
it.
Billboard on the way.
Yeah, exactly. That's like a whole.
That's another thing, is they're actively getting patents and filing.
Because they're on the other side. They've got a coalition of lawyers that are funded to go the opposite direction with this.
Yeah, it'll be fucking rosin equipment next year.
Yeah, and you know how you keep burdening down this whole system to beat it is you just start filing more and more bullshit patents as fast as you can to just...
Extraction, crystallation, spinoff, that's in there, right?
Oh yeah, go look at the deck, look at the pie chart. That's just the smallest little bit of the beginning.
So I got some good news though. All right, I got good news, and part of the good news is that we know what we need, and you were mentioning this earlier. We need expert witnesses. Yep. We need people that know what they're talking about, that have been doing it forever, that really were the true innovators in the space. We need more open source material. We need more spots like Future. We need more information there. We need more prior art that we can reference.
Can you speak to prior art a bit? Like I got a bunch of pictures that are metadated from, well before on the ethanol extraction, the cold out, we were doing that, and we were the first ones to talk about it too. I have, post dated when we put it up and started talking about it. Where does that?
I've read Icy Mag more in the last 2 years than I did.
Yeah, Gray Wolf will point to you.
Honestly, you're digging through that. You're looking for
right, especially through like the archive.
But what people don't understand about that, I've been talking about patents for a while, and the most common response I get is, "No, look at this post. Look at this post. It's from 2014." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool, bro. But it's going to cost you $150,000 to hold that phone up in court. That's what it costs, basically.
Unless you're the expert.
It's not that you don't have it. It's that it costs you that much money to get in front of the judge. But what if you're the expert witness referencing prior art?
And that's where it's important. That's where that blend comes together.
Might cost you or might earn you 100 grand, whichever side.
Yeah, you can make money too. I mean, expert witnesses, right? Yeah. I mean, we use some very talented people, some people that understand the tech.
Their time is very expensive.
And it's almost frustrating watching the lawyers talk to the witnesses too, because you're like, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He did it. You didn't. And they're just trying to tie him up in circles, and that's the game there. But the more information we can share, the more prior art that we can catalog, right? Let's put it in one spot. Let's give. You get a letter in. Okay, I'm going to send you to this website. I'm going to show you what was out there before any of these patents were awarded. This is what I'm going to fight with. This is the fuel for our tank.
Yeah. Defense template.
This is what I have. Yeah. These are the witnesses that we know. Going forward, innovation is important. It deserves to be monetized. I'm not saying that we belong in a non-monetized world, but we got to figure out a way to put this kind of innovation out to the masses. Let people monetize it. Let them make their money. But it's going to open up over time. And we got to get to that gap when these patents expire.
Well, I think where does the monetization end? And I think that needs to be better defined. So does it end at, I sell it to this guy and then he makes the machines and makes money off the machines? Okay, it's done. Or does it end at, every Tom, Dick, and Harry that
every time I hit a vape card, I got to pay a nickel.
Or like you said,
you didn't flip that grand.
I used my fucking seatbelt today. Like, who do I owe? And it's, when does it end? And I think outlining that and making that, just and fair and right and whatever, is so crucial as a fucking society, as a country. That's got to get figured out, because where does that monetization end? Of course, innovation should be paid for. You should be paid for your work, but when does that end? And it shouldn't just be 17 years gone.
Yeah, it's like it's this underlying ethical question of, do patents even work? Can they even work? Because it's like, you should make the money. You had the idea and you put it into work and you're making money. Great, but I honestly believe the only way that it maybe even works is there's where it ends. Nobody can use that against you, but you can't really stop other people from using it. You can try. We have all the laws in the world, and China will rip your shit straight off and sell it on the internet. So, I mean, yeah, and better maybe. So
ask
it's like,
old Elliot.
So yeah. So it's this weird, ethical question you have to have. Can we even enforce it? Is there such, like, if it's an unenforceable law, is it one that we should have?
I think it starts with us talking about it. I think today's a great step. I think recognizing the challenges that are in front of us, understanding the risk to the industry, and really starting the conversation and organizing ourselves in a way where I don't care who gets a letter. We get access to the same tools. People have the proper understanding of what they're about to go through, and then we use some collective muscle. Right, we built this together. We're not giving it away to the lawyers. We're not going to do it. We can't do it. It's just not fair.
Well, not to their lawyers. Yeah, so, no matter what, the underlying thing is the lawyers are going to win. They always win. One of them, both of them, however. So, but our defense is to lose less, or to not lose as hard as to fund some of our own lawyers to start working on this, right? Because that we can start mounting a defense against it collectively. And that's, I think, probably the primary action of the PWO would be to organize some sort of collective legal fund.
It's a big ask to get it done, but that's the kind of actions.
That's the Patent Warfare Office.
Yeah,
you heard it here first. Patent Warfare Office
has to contract out some lawyers to start working on this.
Fucking patent.
I get upset when positions are lost to legal bills.
Yeah,
and when you look at the kind of expense, we're a healthy company, but $600,000-$700,000 is a lot of cash. It's a lot of cash.
Especially when it's not in your pocket anymore.
Yeah. And what do we do with that cash? You know, I mean, I drive a Tacoma.
Yeah.
But I don't
pay your employees.
We
Yeah.
pay our employees.
Keep the thing going.
As that funnel comes down and you lose those revenues, it does impact the industry. It impacts the jobs. It impacts families and people that are, help us build our company from day one. You'll suck.
As a good, owner operator, it impacted your salary first, right? Because you need all these other people working, or there's no salary for anybody. So you're the first one to take a cut as a business owner.
First, second, and third.
People are quick to forget that. Yeah. You made all the sacrifice in and out.
For the purposes of this conversation and getting it out there, people can go to the forum. This thread, by the time this is released, this thread will be pinned to the top. We'll have a website address where people can get more information, and we're going to get really organized about getting some muscle, getting a little war chest of our own, figuring that out, but also developing a website that has prior art, has a catalog, has some ways that other people have won. What do you do if you get the letter? We're going to start putting that together. We're going to get it figured out. We're going to get it figured out. All right. Sean, you've been ringing this bell for a long time, and I'm really excited that we finally heard it.
Thank you for answering the door. Appreciate you, Kat.
Always.
Great conversation.
Always.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Don, Dustin, thank you.
Education, medication, all at its finest. It's a good life game.